I'm Danielle Metz.
And I'm Robert Vaughn.
And this is the Danielle Metz Show. Quote, y'all know where the phrase of rule of thumb means? Where it's derived from? In English common law, not codification law, common law, back from the late 1300s, so many women were dying at the hands of their husbands because they were chattel, just like the cattle or the sheep, that the court of common law decided they had to do something about the extent of the deaths. So, do you know what they said? No man has a right to chastise his woman with a rod thicker than the circumference of his thumb.
You sure that's not Sharia law?
No, this is English jurisprudential culture, a white man's culture. It's got to change. It's got to change. Well, in case you hadn't seen it, that was an excerpt from the speech that Joe Biden presented at the Biden Courage Awards at the end of March.
The what? The what?
Yes, the Biden Courage Awards. Believe it or not, it was at New York in the Russia Tea Room. No pun intended.
That's another show right there.
The theme of his speech was about rape culture and linking rape and abuse with white male culture, and going so far as to compare people who failed to speak out about rape and abuse with those who turned a blind eye to the Nazi death camps, because that's everything is Nazi. It was a blatant and obvious attempt at pandering to Democratic Party supporters because white males are no longer welcome on the left, and their culture has got to change. So, Robert, as a white male, awash in a white male culture, does this culture have to change? And if so, change to what?
Exactly. I think it's incumbent upon somebody as courageous as Joe Biden to say exactly what he means when he wants to change something. Change what precisely? It's certainly not a white or Western idea of hitting women. That's more Sharia than any other culture. That's more Asian. That's more Pakistani. That's more African.
He's describing every other culture other than white culture. And he had to go back to the 1300s, which even, that isn't true. The rule of thumb is not that. The rule of thumb, I looked it up because I had to, it was a common form of measurement. It's like a foot.
Estimating stuff. Yeah.
Why do you think they call it a foot? Because it was a foot. So you had the rule of thumb, which was a thumb.
Yeah. And the horse stood 20 hands high. You know, same thing. No, the guy's an idiot, plain and simple. He takes his information from Wikipedia, perhaps. No, he doesn't, because even in Wikipedia, and I did look it up, they poo-pooed the whole idea as well. It's not fact. So no, the guy's is quite an idiot, and he is a racist. For example, tagging that word white onto culture of rape, that's just racism right there. He's basically saying white people condone racism, whereas the other races do not. There is a gene for
anybody else.
There's a gene for rape apparently, and it's attached to the white chromosome. It's absolute absurd. The man's a racist. The man is a coward. The man is an imbecile. He's a power-hungry politician who is just pandering to the people out there who don't know any better, I'm afraid, or who get their news from CNN.
And he knows what he has to do because he may or may not be running for president, or at least the Democratic nominee for president. He knows that he has two major handicaps. He's white and he's male. So he has to apologize for being male. And he went so far in that speech, I watched the whole thing, and it basically started about how when the Anita Hill thing with Clarence Thomas being sworn in with Supreme Court Justice, he felt he should have done more because he now understands what women are going through when they have to face an all-white male committee in order to detail what that personal horror of somebody making an inappropriate joke was. And the Kavanaugh hearings and how he didn't want either of them because what the women were put through is so horrible. We have to feel for those women. It's just so bad because white male culture.
I think I'll set up my own GoFundMe campaign, just like she did. Now then people can feel bad for me. This tying of the word white with Western society, which is what he's meaning.
Obviously what he's doing.
yeah, white means Western. Western means good. Western means democracy, freedom, individualism. Anything to do with the good of society is Western, and it has now been labeled white. I think it was just the last show we did where I said that the world has turned upside down or inside out or whatever, but it is the good means bad, bad means good, peace means war, love means hate. It's all 1984, and Joe Biden is a living example of the kind of person that 1984 was meant to showcase.
And warn against.
Or warn against, for sure. And it's interesting that now everything is racist. You know that on the so-called alt-right, on 4chan, there's a bunch of guys, all 20-somethings, sitting on 4chan, right? They see the world go by them on YouTube and Twitter and Facebook and all that. No, they don't belong to Facebook. I take that back. On 4chan or Reddit or whatever, and they see the nonsense that goes on, and they start making up these memes, poking the bear. And that's where they got Pepe, the frog. And that's where they got white power. You know what this means in Brazil? My Brazilian daughter-in-law told me. Whenever I would do that to her, right? Okay. You know what that means in Brazil? It means F you.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you go like that to somebody.
So what does it's
like that digit, in Italian.
What does the middle digit mean in Brazil?
I didn't ask her that. Probably 1.
Well, 2 technically.
Or it means okay.
Or 3.
The thing is, these guys on 4chan and Reddit are having a heyday
hilarious.
By poking that stupid left-wing bear and saying, what did they come out with recently? Was Honkler?
Yeah, Honkler.
The clown is like a Pepe.
Yeah,
the
clown
frog.
world. So if you show an emoji of a clown and a globe, that is white racism now. Because it's a clown world.
Everything is white racism, yeah.
Yep.
And
only white racism, no other kind of racism. You can't have any other kind.
Not.
There is no such other racism. It's only white.
Actually,
we have the power because we are
people
privileged.
who believe that. The people who believe that you cannot be a black racist or an Asian racist.
Nope. And
there's actually people who believe that.
And it so goes against human nature that only, so there's no Asians, there's no black people, there's no anybody else that are racist. No, come on, that's ridiculous.
This is why we're laughing. This is why the people on 4chan and Reddit are laughing. It's because they are a bunch of clowns. And what is it? They gave him a multicolored wig like the LGBTQ flag.
Yeah, bringing it, reclaiming it.
I shouldn't say LGBTQ flag because that homosexual flag was out before this LGBTQ2 whatever.
But they keep adding an extra rainbow color to represent each one. So it should technically be like 90 bows on the rainbow now because how many genders are there at this point?
2.
Ridiculous.
It should just be black and white flag, not a multicolored flag.
Or pink and blue.
There you go. I like that. Pink and blue. There you go. That's the symbol of normality and of reality. Pink and blue flag, not a multicolored rainbow flag. We all live in this clown world. And Joe Biden is the biggest clown of them all, or at least, I don't know, he's leading the parade, that's for sure. I was going to
say, that's a hard call to make, because I've seen some atrocious stuff on the left coming out lately with Cory Booker and all the rest of that. It's a race to the bottom with the Democratic Party, and it's whoever fits whichever intersectional category the best seems to be what they're going to throw forward. And the fact that they are afraid of Joe Biden enough to basically Me Too him because, creepy Uncle Joe, because of some, little weird kind of touching, but nothing overly over the top, but they don't want him. He's a white male, he's old guard, and he's not left enough for them. So they have to take him down. And so he's trying to counterbalance that by saying, listen, I think that all white men are bad and white culture is bad, so therefore he's trying to fight against that. And it's just the blue eating the blue.
Yeah, I mean, people just have to look at a bit of history, and unfortunately, it doesn't seem to be taught anymore. And just to go back and to think about what so-called white culture, and it's not white, it's westernized culture, and it started in the Mediterranean. It's a hodgepodge of thousands of philosophic discoveries and inventions over thousands of years that have brought us to this point, probably starting with Thales, the philosopher, Aristotle, go from there, Socrates, Plato. Well, not so much Plato, because he's sort of on the opposite side of reason and rationality. And so, but anyway, you follow that course from Greece and Rome and Jerusalem and going to England, the creation of parliamentary democracies, elections, universal suffrage, the freeing of slaves,
Magna Carta,
Magna Carta, where the monarchs are no longer the people rule, and we built up this society till we get today, where you had perhaps the best society in the world, or the best system of government,
and the best
in the United States. Well, culture, what is culture? I mean, I did a show on culture with Just Right, and I was trying to say that, look, my culture, what I do, culture is a milieu of all your behaviors, I would think. And what we do here in this rural community outside of London, Ontario, is so much different from what people do near Whistler, British Columbia, or Hibbs Hole in Newfoundland, or Happy Valley Goose Bay, or Thunder Bay. There's no one real culture that you can call white. There's no one real culture you can call Western. Try comparing what we do here in Canada, any society, with what they do in Melbourne, Australia, or South Africa, or Brazil. Brazilian culture, and I'm learning it from my daughter-in-law, is completely different than what we do here. Well, not completely, I shouldn't say that, because they still benefit from the history that we all share. But I've been down to Latin American countries, and it's amazing how different they are, and how laid back they are, and how much more freer in a lot of respects they are to what we're doing here, destroying the very things that made us free.
Okay, so what do you define that as, a philosophy rather than a culture?
I like that word better, yeah. It's a set of general ideas, because ideas rule the world. Culture doesn't rule it. What do people mean by culture? Like what you wear, what you eat, what you drink? Certainly
no,
not.
I think that's more tradition. I think culture is more of social norms, in the sense of how you treat other people and how you behave towards them. Like, I say Western culture is more of an individualist culture. It's a culture based on the value of the individual as opposed to the collective.
Okay,
the
that's
tribalistic
philosophy.
culture. It is philosophy, but the culture springs from that philosophy.
Yes, well, everything more or less springs from that philosophy, right from your politics, your aesthetics, your ethics, your understanding of the universe, your metaphysics. They all come from a philosophy, and Western philosophy has proven itself to be, if the individual life and happiness is the standard, to be the best so far invented by man. I mean, if Joe Biden thinks that other cultures are better than Western philosophy, why doesn't he go over to Namibia, try living there for a couple of years and see
Venezuela.
how far he
Send
gets?
him to Venezuela.
Send him to Venezuela. Send him to China. Let's see how he does in China with their system of
or the Middle East, or Brunei now.
Yeah. Why doesn't he take a trip over to Mecca?
Yeah.
Well, of course, he's not even allowed in Mecca because they're so free over there that anybody can go there, yeah.
But their culture's so much better than ours, isn't it? Come on, you gotta admit it.
No, the Western culture, there is a hierarchy of cultures, just like there's a hierarchy of good and evil.
Yeah,
and Western philosophy is the best because it has produced the best in people, and it has saved the most lives. It has freed the slaves. It has given us everything that we could do. Skype.
Yeah.
It's given us Skype. There you go.
There you go.
Oops.
We
rule
win.
of thumb. Okay.
All right. Well, take care. Behave yourself, and we'll talk again soon. Cheers.
If you've enjoyed this presentation, visit justrightmedia.org for more programming that's not right-wing. It's just right.